Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Now, today we're going to take a look at something that's been shaking up the tech world. And this is a Chinese AI company called DeepSeek. And they've really got everyone talking, from Silicon Valley to Wall Street.
Yeah, it's fascinating. They've kind of come out of nowhere with this new AI model that's really just shaking up the entire industry.
And we've got a whole bunch of articles here that lay out DeepSeek's, meteoric rise and the technology they're developing and also some of the concerns around it. So I'm excited to dig into this with you because it really does seem like DeepSeek is, rewriting the rules of AI.
Absolutely. It's a complete shakeup. And to really understand it, I think we need to start with DeepSeek's background. They were founded pretty recently back in 2023 by a guy named Liang Wenfeng. And this is where it gets interesting because Wenfeng's background isn't in tech at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just assumed he was like, some kind of coding whiz kid.
Nope. He's a finance guy, made his name with a hedge fund called High Flyer. It's kind of like if Warren Buffett, suddenly became a tech genius.
Okay, that is unexpected. So how does someone from the world of finance jump into AI development and end up disrupting the whole scene?
Well, it seems like Wenfeng had an early interest in AI and really saw the potential before most people did. And he was smart enough to stockpile NVIDIA chips before the U.S. export restrictions hit, which is a huge factor in their success. But what's really interesting is that DeepSeek didn't go the route of, chasing quick profits or building some kind of flashy product.
So they weren't trying to build, the next big app everyone downloads.
Right. They took a different approach. They really focused on fundamental AI research, developing their own models from scratch. And that's where things get really disruptive. I mean, they were able to create their flagship model, DeepSeek R1, for a fraction of what U.S. companies have been spending.
Now, hold on. DeepSeek R1, this is the one that's a large language model, right? The one that's being compared to things like ChatGPT.
That's the one. And get this, they developed it for roughly $6 million. Now compare that to the, $60 million plus that similar models from U.S. companies have cost.
Wow. That's a game changer. I mean, it's like they figured out how to build a Ferrari for the price of a, used scooter. No wonder everyone is paying attention.
Exactly. It's a complete shift in the economics of AI. And it comes down to some really innovative and clever approaches they took. They were laser focused on efficiency building algorithms that are just leaner and meaner. And they also found a way to run these complex models on less powerful and cheaper hardware.
So they're challenging that industry reliance on those really expensive high-end GPUs.
Absolutely. They've shown that you don't need to spend a fortune to be at the cutting edge of AI. And on top of that, they're doing something else that's making waves.
Is it the whole open source thing I keep hearing about?
You got DeepSeek made the decision to make their algorithms accessible to researchers and developers all around the world. It's the opposite of what companies like OpenAI have done. They tend to be much more protective of their technology.
So they're inviting the whole world to collaborate and build on their work.
Exactly. It's a bold move, and it's really shaking things up. I mean, imagine if DeepSeek's innovations become the new standard for AI development.
That's a huge power shift.
Well,
We've already seen how DeepSeek's announcements have hit companies like NVIDIA. Their stock really took a hit after DeepSeek announced they were partnering with AMD.
yeah, NVIDIA's stock plummeted by something like 13%, which is huge for a company that size. It just shows you how DeepSeek is disrupting not just the technology, but the whole business landscape around AI.
So cheaper, more efficient, open source.
It sounds like DeepSeek is really democratizing access to powerful AI, which is exciting, but it also makes you wonder about the potential downsides.
That's the other side of the coin, right? Their rapid rise and this disruptive technology are raising some serious concerns, especially in areas like cybersecurity and data privacy.
I think that's a good place to pick up next because that's where things could get a little unsettling.
Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, so we've talked about how powerful and efficient DeepSeek's AI is. But what does that mean for cybersecurity? Like, how does this change the game in terms of, threats?
Well, think about it. DeepSeek's AI can analyze huge amounts of data really fast. Now, in the wrong hands, that capability could be a weapon, you know?
So we're not just talking about like your average hacker anymore. We're talking about AI-powered attacks.
Exactly. Imagine using DeepSeek's AI to find weaknesses in, critical infrastructure like power grids, financial systems, even our election systems.
That's a scary thought. We already have enough trouble keeping those safe as it is.
Right. And now imagine giving attackers AI that can go through tons of data looking for vulnerabilities much faster and more efficiently than any human could.
Like giving them a cheat code to break into our most vital systems.
Kind of, yeah. And it's not just about targeting infrastructure. Think about software vulnerabilities. This AI could be used to find what are called zero-day vulnerabilities. Those are flaws in software that the developers don't even know about yet.
Okay, explain that to me. Like, I'm 5. What's so bad about a zero-day vulnerability?
It's like a hacker finding a hidden back door into your house that you didn't even know existed. It's a way in before anyone can lock the door.
And DeepSeek's AI could automate that process, right? Like, no one has to sit there and, search through code manually anymore.
Exactly. It's automation on steroids. So
Yeah.
attacks could be faster, more sophisticated, much harder to defend against. It's a cybersecurity nightmare.
Makes me think about all the talk about AI being used for espionage. Could DeepSeek's tech be used for that too?
Oh, absolutely. Governments and corporations have so much data, and DeepSeek's AI could sift through all of it, looking for, sensitive information, trade secrets, maybe even classified intel.
Like a superpowered spy tool, like something out of James Bond.
Yeah, but this is real life. And what's more concerning is that this AI could enhance what are called advanced persistent threat campaigns.
Okay, that sounds intense. What are those exactly?
Basically, long-term, stealthy cyber espionage operations, like someone sneaking into your house and stealing your valuables little by little over months or even years without you ever noticing.
And a lot of these campaigns are done by, nation states, right? Countries trying to steal secrets from each other.
Right, so DeepSeek's AI could give those countries a big advantage in cyber espionage.
So we've got infrastructure attacks, software vulnerabilities, espionage. Anything else we should be worried about with this AI?
Well, there's also the potential for social engineering and misinformation campaigns.
What do you mean by that?
Think about how good AI is getting at generating human-like text, even creating fake videos. DeepSeek's AI could make really convincing phishing emails or social media posts.
Emails that look like they're from your bank or posts that look like they're from your friends, but they're actually traps.
Exactly. It's all about manipulating people, tricking them into giving up information or spreading fake news.
And it's not like we don't already have enough problems with misinformation as it is.
Right. And DeepSeek's AI could make things a lot worse.
Okay, so this AI has the potential to really disrupt cybersecurity in some scary ways. But we also have to remember that DeepSeek is a Chinese company. Does that make things even more complicated?
Oh, absolutely. We have to think about how China approaches data privacy. It's very different from what we're used to in many Western countries.
Right, China has much more relaxed data privacy laws. So does that mean DeepSeek has access to a ton of data that other AI companies wouldn't?
It's possible, yeah. And that raises questions about how that data might be used. Could it be used for mass surveillance? For creating profiles of citizens?
And if DeepSeek is working with the Chinese government, there's no real oversight, is there?
That's the worry. It's a black box.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what's happening in China. Think about all the countries using Chinese technology. Their citizens' data could be at risk too.
This is starting to sound like a dystopian movie. We're talking about AI that could be used to control entire populations.
It's a real possibility, but I think it's important to remember that DeepSeek's tech itself isn't good or bad. It's a tool.
So it all comes down to how it's used.
Exactly. And that brings us back to governance. Who decides how this technology is developed and used? What ethical rules should be in place?
These are big questions, and I don't think the answers are simple. But I'm glad we're talking about it because DeepSeek's rise isn't just about technology. It's about power control, the future of our digital world.
I agree. And this isn't just a Chinese issue or an American issue. It's a global issue. The decisions made about AI in the next few years will affect everyone everywhere.
That's why it's so important for all of us to understand what's at stake. We need to be informed, engaged, and we need to ask tough questions about the role we want AI to play in our lives.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially in a world where technology is changing so fast.
It really feels like DeepSeek is, kind of thrown down a challenge to the rest of the world. They've shown us what AI can do, but now it's on us to figure out how to handle this, this incredible power responsibly.
It's a crucial moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And DeepSeek's right in the middle of it. They've made some bold moves, but there's a lot of scrutiny and concern about how their technology might be used, for good or for bad.
They've really disrupted things. But now they've got to navigate all these ethical and geopolitical issues. It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, they have some big decisions to make. I mean, do they keep going with this open source approach, even though that could mean, wider access for everyone, good and bad? Or do they try to work more closely with governments to set up ethical guidelines, even if that limits their own innovation?
It's a tough balancing act. Reminds me of that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that's a classic for a reason. And it fits DeepSeek's situation perfectly.
So what do you think is next for DeepSeek? Where do they go from here?
Hard to say for sure. They're a bit unpredictable, but I think one thing's for certain, they're not going away. They've got the world's attention, and everyone's watching to see what their next move is.
It's like they've unleashed something they might not be able to fully control.
That's an interesting point. And it shows why we need to be proactive about setting rules for AI, to minimize the risks. We can't just wait and react. We need to think ahead and work together to find solutions.
You mentioned earlier that governments and, international groups need to create guidelines for AI. What would those guidelines actually look like?
Well, I think they need to cover a few key areas. Data privacy is a big one. We need clear rules about, what data AI companies can collect, how they can use it, and how they have to protect it.
Yeah, especially with those concerns about DeepSeek potentially having access to huge amounts of data in China.
Right. Another key area is cybersecurity. We need standards for AI systems to make sure they're secure and can withstand attacks. You know?
So things like making sure AI can't be used to easily find and take advantage of vulnerabilities in our infrastructure.
Exactly. That's a major concern. And then, of course, there's the whole question of ethical development. Things like bias in AI algorithms, the potential for AI to be used for discrimination or manipulation, and even the impact of AI on jobs and the economy.
It's a lot to think about, but it feels like these are conversations we can't afford to ignore anymore.
I totally agree. We need to be talking about this at every level, from governments and companies to researchers and everyday people.
So what can regular people do? How can we make our voices heard on this?
First of all, stay informed. Learn about AI, the good and the bad. Keep up with what's happening in the field.
So do your research read articles, listen to podcasts like this one?
Exactly. The more you know, the better you'll be able to participate in these conversations.
And what about reaching out to our elected officials? Should we be doing that too?
Absolutely. Let them know that AI is something you care about. Ask them what they're doing to deal with the challenges and opportunities that come with AI.
Write to them, call their offices, make sure they hear you.
Right. And even just talking to your friends and family about these issues can make a difference. The more people understand AI, the better choices we can make as a society.
It seems like we need a real change in how we think about AI. We need to stop seeing it as just a science fiction thing and recognize that it's here now and it's already having a huge impact on our lives.
I couldn't agree more. AI is not just some technology, it's a reflection of us as a society. The choices we make about AI will show our values, our priorities, what we want for the future.
Well, this deep dive has definitely been eye-opening. It's shown me how much I still need to learn about AI,
Yeah.
but it's also made me realize how important these conversations are.
I'm glad to hear that. The more we learn and the more we talk about this, the better prepared we'll be to handle what's coming.
We've covered a lot today, from DeepSeek's amazing rise and their tech to the potential dangers and the need to make sure AI is used responsibly. It's been fascinating and, yeah, sometimes a bit unsettling.
It's complicated for sure. There are no easy answers. But I think the main thing to remember is this: the future of AI is not set in stone. We all have a role to play in shaping it so that it benefits humanity.
That's a great point. Well, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you found it informative and something to really think about. We encourage you to keep learning about AI and to be part of the conversation about its future.
Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.